Back in
Back
the
in the room.
Back in the room. So yeah, Martin, I want to bring up something.
Go on, bring it up.
In your TikTok, one of your last, if it wasn't
Yes.
your last one of your last one, you're on the table waiting, well, pre-op and post-op for a colonoscopy, right?
Yes, I did that
And
thing.
you were put under. They put you to sleep.
Yep.
I didn't
They
get that.
put you to sleep. You do it under general anaesthetic.
I didn't
You're
get
out
any
like a light.
aesthetic. I was just told to whistle a tune, and up my arse they went with the camera.
Blimey, was it a big like Hasselblad?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think it was, because when it came out, I screamed very loudly.
Did you?
Yeah, and there was like a loud pop, and I made that up, but I did scream.
You screamed?
Yeah, I screamed.
Okay. Was it painful, or was it
It was
the
really
surprise?
painful. No, it was really painful. They just like yanked it out. They were pissed off because I got bad advice. The nurses that actually did it, they said when I went in there, in the room, they said, "Oh, so you haven't eaten, have you, for 12 hours?" I said, "Well, not well. I haven't eaten meat." And they said, "What?" I said, "No, I haven't eaten meat." I said, because their boss, who was a friend of my girlfriend's sister, right? He said, "Oh, no, don't worry. You just need to avoid eating.
Right.
You can eat vegetables if they're like put them through the blender or something. You can eat soup and stuff like that. It's fine." But the nurses, they were not happy. They said, "What? No," because presumably made their job a bit messier, right?
Oh yeah.
And so they were a bit pissed
They will
off.
hate you.
Yeah, they hated me. They hated me.
Yes. Yeah. So they
And they
took it out on your rectum, basically.
They took it out my rectum. Yeah. No
Yeah,
general
no,
anaesthetic.
so you-
Nothing.
Right. No. So from 5 days out, you have to stop taking supplements. From 3 days out, you go on to a low fiber diet. That's like no beans.
Right.
It's very strict from 3 days out. And then the last 24 hours, you eat nothing, fluids. Right. And then you drink the most obscene amount of fluids that you can possibly can, and then you take all these laxatives and you basically just blast the whole lot out of your system. Really? So the water cleans everything out, so it's all as clean.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I was just told no solids for 12 hours before.
Yeah,
End of.
You were given some dodge advice, mate. Tell you,
but that was their boss that gave me that advice.
That's terrible advice. Yeah, no, that's not how it fucking works at all.
So I was watching you on TikTok, taking it easy. It was, taking it easy, being put to sleep.
Yeah,
with your like surgical little outfit, looking good actually, mate. I have to say.
Yeah, and I can say that I didn't scream. I came up and it was all very pleasant. I came out talking about the donuts was what I decided to fixate on when I came out of general anaesthetic.
Really?
Donuts.
What, straight away?
Yes, that was the first thing out of my mouth, was me talking about the donuts.
Wow.
I was talking about, I should get you some donuts.
Homer Simpson all this time, and I didn't realise it.
Some Krispy Kremes is what I was thinking. Yeah, I was like, yeah, that was hilarious. According to my wife. Yeah, and on that, and on that,
coloscopy envy.
Yeah. Welcome to ADHDville.
Take the skinheads bowling. Take the bowling. Take the skinheads. Take them bowling. Take the skinheads, take them bowling. Take them bowling. Take those skinheads bowling.
Donuts.
Donuts. Hello, I'm Bob Dobson. I was diagnosed with the combined ADH and the D almost a year ago, Martin.
My name's Martin West. I was diagnosed with the combined ADHD poo-poo platter in 2013. No less, no more.
Nice. So we're just two mates who, by coincidence or not, after 39 years of friendship, discovered that we're co-ADHDers.
Blimey.
Now, it's really important to say that this is an entertainment podcast about adult ADHD and does not substitute for individualized advice from health professionals. So do not take any advice from us, not even me.
No.
We're just here as a kind of all-inclusive ADHD park bench, Martin, with room for everyone, including your doppelgangers, your alter egos, your buddy doublers, doublers, your chaperones, and even your best buddies, Martin.
Your best booties. Very nice.
Okay. So anyway, back in the room. So are you still here? Good. Then
Yes.
then grab your jetpacks, pedalos, space hoppers, or any other transportation methods, and let us take you to ADHDville, an imaginary town that we've created in our minds. Pregnant pause, where we like to explore different parts of the A, the D, the H, and the D. Hang on, I need to. Jesus.
He's looking around.
I'm back.
Oh, he's back. He's back in the room. All right. How are we feeling?
Better. Okay. I had to chasing Amazon man down the road. Come back.
All right. Oh, blimey. Come back with my important
package
box of
my spray can of spray primer. Anyway.
Right.
So,
anywho, let's crack on. I think my next part is, I say, we start off as always here in the town hall, in the mayor's office, where we, the joint mayors of ADHDville, take care of business and Amazon packages.
Yes, quite often.
And on my agenda, we have one item. This is a single item episode. We are talking about what are we talking about? ADHD burnout, right?
And ADHD burnout / exhaustion. I've got here, Martin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
usually you're better at the intros to kind of like introducing us to a subject. Have you got something?
Well, let's jump in the car. First,
yes.
Because where shall we go to
let's go
talk
to
about?
I think we should go to the spa, Martin, because the spa is where you go to relax, isn't it?
Yeah, that feels like a good
after your burnout.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's jump
in
the mayor's car. Right. You will notice, Paul, that I've finally got rid of the cigarette lighter in our mayor's car. I kind of felt like it was like it's been a while. It's been a while. I don't smoke anymore.
There was like half a cigar in there for like 5 years.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
Maybe. All right. Well, let's just get to the spa and chill.
Yeah. I see.
Yes. I can feel those
cucumbers
on my eyes.
Do you do spas?
Occasionally, yes. Occasionally.
What's your go-to? Is there like one thing at the spa you gravitate towards?
All right. So we have here in New York, we have some quite big spas. So they're quite big. And you can go, and there's usually like 5 or 6 different types of room that you can go into. Like there'd be one that is really cold. You can go in there for a bit, and then you can go into a really hot steam room. then you go into a really hot dry room. There's like all these like little rooms that you can then kind of go in between, and then you can go and have a massage, which I always enjoy that. Yeah.
Okay.
Or go and
Are you
swim in the
allowed to
pool.
talk in spas in New York?
Our swimming pool has a spa, and I go in there after a swim, and no one generally does talk.
Yeah.
They
Because the
they might
last
just.
spa I went to was in Copenhagen with
All right,
Jonathan. Hello, Jonathan.
all right.
And
Hello.
we got told off a couple of times. Well, not told off. We were asked to stop talking, please.
Yeah. It's not
Generally
really the
not.
done thing around our here, but
Yeah.
obviously in other cultures, very much about talking and
In Italy, yeah.
conducting business and shit.
Exactly.
Um,
in your speedos. But
yeah.
what's your go to at the spa then?
Um, the massage obviously is the number
Yeah.
one, and then after that, I do like a steam room where
Do you?
I get baked until light and fluffy. Yeah,
I like steam rooms for about I can only resist for like maximum of 5 minutes and I have to get out
yeah,
because my nostrils are burning.
yeah. No, I like the kind of this the sort of punishment of it.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
how long can I stay in here?
Yeah.
I'm a
I like
god.
talking of punishment, I love shiatsu.
Shit, what the dog? No, Shih Tzu.
No,
No.
no, that's a Shih Tzu.
All right,
And it's not a car either. It's not a Suzuki.
right.
Shiatsu.
What's a Shih Tzu?
Shiatsu is they like play with your nerves, Martin. They're like
They get on your nerves.
they get on your nerves. Literally, get on your nerves,
Right.
and
They're
they
just
tweak
there.
them and put pressure on your yeah. And it's like the most pleasurable pain you could ever have.
Oh,
It's
okay.
great.
All right.
It's
All right.
great.
I know
It's a
that.
massage basically, but you kind of particular pressure on your pressure points.
All right. Well, if anyone has any particular fun spa stories or info, get in the comments. I know that some people
Okay.
like to be beaten with a bush, right?
Oh,
With a branch. I think it's the Russians, maybe, or maybe it's the
I
Greeks as
think
well. I don't
so.
know. I can't remember
Also,
now.
it's Turkey. Oh my god! I went had a,
Oh,
I can't
turkeys.
remember what they're called. What they called Turkish spa where you go in, you get beaten up basically by this gigantic Turkish man,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like, oh my god, it turn you over like pieces of meat on a barbecue,
Oh
literally
boy, they just
slap you
pound
around.
you. But
Yeah,
why? Why is this a thing? Who
yeah,
knows? Um.
yeah. But it was
Anyway,
invigorating,
all right, all right.
Martin.
All
So
right.
the
So
subject.
let's start with what is ADHD burnout. Well, I mean,
Mm,
so firstly, ADHD burnout isn't a. It's not a. It's a loose collective term for a whole bunch of symptoms, which is basically the experience of feeling completely drained mentally or physically or
mhm.
emotionally from managing ADHD symptoms,
Yes.
especially too long.
Hmm.
So the underlying thing here is that you have ADHD and you're if you basically don't take care of yourself,
Hmm.
the amount of energy it takes just to get through this thing called normal
Hmm.
life
Hmm.
will just deplete you
Hmm.
and until you kind of basically just burn out.
Hmm. Yeah.
You know,
And even to the extent I read somewhere, which is completely true, the problem with burnout is when you're going through burnout, it actually accentuates your ADHD traits even more.
yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah. No, so I mean, like signs of it. If you wanted to kind of know what that will cover, that covers feeling overwhelmed, like you want to run away or escape. Um,
Hmm.
a lowering of productivity, poor performance, feelings of fatigue, constant exhaustion, low self confidence,
Hmm.
coupled with high self criticism, lack of motivation and
Hmm.
drive to complete tasks, anger and
Hmm.
resentment towards responsibilities, obligations, or other people, irritability
Hmm.
and mood
Hmm.
swings, increased procrastination,
Yes.
avoiding people,
Tick.
yeah, and physical symptoms of avoiding stress, and that could be a
Yeah.
myriad of things.
Yeah.
Blah.
Probably even what comes to mind now is even more likely to try self medication like drugs, alcohol, nicotine, etc.
Yeah,
To
yeah.
try and yeah. I've written down here, Martin, is that
Mm,
kind of an intro. It's like
telling me,
you and I have ADHD, but we probably it shows up kind of differently. Pretty much with everyone, it shows up differently, right? Different traits and everything. But I think everyone in ADHD who has ADHD has burnout at some point,
yeah.
and even quite regularly.
I think you can't, right. And I sometimes think that's one of the reasons why you might think there's something wrong with you. Like like when I think back, I'm like, why am I so tired all the
Yeah.
time?
Hmm.
Why? Like I'm just
Yeah.
so tired and
Mm.
exhausted, and I'm like
Mm.
and emotionally dysregulating.
Hmm.
You kind of think, is this normal?
Yeah. Well, do you remember right at the beginning when we started these episodes? Because basically the starting the podcast coincided with me getting diagnosed, right? I remember me talking about my laziness at the beginning, and you pulled me up on it straight away because I was like, "This is going back about 10 months." I said,
All right,
"No, boy, you weren't lazy. You're just like you were like burnt out."
right.
Yeah. So
Mm,
that's the other thing, isn't it? Pre-diagnosis, or whilst you go through the learning process at the beginning, there's a lot of shame involved. It's like, oh, I'm such a lazy arsehole,
right. And
just like can't get
I
yourself out of bed or
I will come on to that, and that's the burnout cycle, which I will come on to a little bit later on. But yeah,
okay,
absolutely,
yeah,
no, because just kind of going back to the early thing, like I can remember I was seeing a therapist, and I was like, I'm so tired, I'm exhausted, and she was going, so it's like a background depression, right? Yeah, it is like a background de- depression. At least that's what it felt like.
mm,
And then, therefore, I think, well, that's probably one of the reasons why, certainly in our time, ADHD didn't come up, but it was like, oh, I'm being misdiagnosed just
right,
with a low grade background depression. And that was
hmm,
what they wanted to treat me for.
yeah,
When in fact, it was
yeah,
all the effort that it takes to mask and to
yeah,
somehow get through a normal world,
hmm,
and all that added effort because you're trying to compensate for your ADHD, right? So you're putting all this added effort in, and you're screwing up, and you're feeling bad, and you're uh, and you're also kind of like trying to um, sort of self-regulate, with
hmm,
drink or whatever it is, and it just takes so much of a
yeah,
toll on you.
yeah,
Blech.
yeah. I mean, if there's one thing, and you said Martin on the podcast that you did. Unfortunately, I wasn't there on that one, but you were talking to Lucy. And you said if I had to get diagnosed at 90, I would have done.
Right.
Even if I was 90, I would have been, I would get diagnosed because you get a better sense of self, and also, just like you can like all of a sudden things make sense. And so, oh, I wasn't lazy. I was just struggling to deal with my ADHD.
Yeah.
It's like make peace with it.
Yeah. Acceptance is the key
Yeah,
to all
yeah,
is all of that. Now then, there's a bunch of things that can cause ADHD burnout. So obviously we kind of go through life, right? And there's and it takes a lot. It takes a lot more effort if you have ADHD to kind of get through life, right? And even if you manage to kind of just just get on, right, and you have up and down days, but you're basically functioning. There's still it will still get you from time to time, right? Like it feels like it's almost inescapable. It feels
yeah,
like like I've had really big burnouts. So let me think. So when I left one particular agency that I'd been at, ad agency for like I'd been there for a good number of years, and I was burnt out after that. So that was a long burnout after the amount of effort that I put into work, and then coming out of it, I was just dead. So there's then there's that type, which that kind of burnout that lasted for months and months.
yeah. Oh, what the burnout lasted for months?
Yeah, that
Okay.
yes. And then there's much smaller ones where I will have a particular. So I went to a party in DC last weekend, and it was great. I had a good time, but I was burnt out afterwards, which kind of took about that was a 1 day burnout, I think, or two perhaps, but so you get much
Right.
smaller ones, so they can range from like a day or a week, can be weeks, can be months,
Yeah.
can be longer.
Yeah. Well, I had a similar thing. I had what I called I had I reached a point. When was it? 12 years ago now, when I had a crash, and people like called it. Even people close to me, they called it a kind of a midlife crisis, and even like said it quite quite sniggeringly. And there's this thing, when a man goes through a moment like that, I was 46, 45 or
Hmm.
46 or so. There's like, I don't know why, but it really pisses me off. There's people who talk about it in like a degrading way. Said, "Oh, you're going to buy a Harley Davidson or a convertible, and start start building a gym in your garage and stuff like that, and
Right.
suddenly attracted to teenage girls or whatever like that." And I think it's really disrespectful, because actually it was a genuine crash. you know
Hmm.
Now I know, having been diagnosed a year ago, it was exactly what you were talking about. It was just years and years and years of masking, and years of just being motivated by fear, basically. Everything, I
Right.
mean, it got me to where it got me. I was ambitious, and I was very driven and determined and everything. But in the end, it was toxic, because I was driven. I was never ever driven by anything positive.
Right.
And I thought I couldn't do it anymore, and I crashed and burned.
Yeah.
Definitely.
No, I remember you talking about that
Yeah.
at at the time. It's like,
Mm.
what am I being motivated by?
Yeah.
Why am I seemingly being motivated by negative self-harming things rather than
Yeah.
positive things?
Yeah. And that's a big change to make. So that, okay. And for me, it was hard. It was more than hard. It seemed impossible at times. Like, oh, is there another way to be motivated? Can you
Right.
be successful in your career, or on a personal level, and not being motivated by fear of failure.
Mm,
Well, obviously you can. It's just it was a concept that was very far from my experience at the time.
yeah. So kind of getting back to like a day-to-day burnout thing.
Mm.
Yeah, there's a bunch of things that come to my mind that kind of factors that contribute to it, other than the ones that we've already discussed. One is like
Yeah.
over commitment, where you kind of like
Mm-hmm.
you've people pleased, or you're saying yes to
Saying,
things through
yeah.
fear or whatever it is, and you've got way too much on your plate.
Mm-hmm.
And uh,
Yeah. Overcommitted. Yeah.
right, and then then that means that you overextend yourself and you start to feel overwhelmed, and then you'll eventually burn out. Um,
Yeah.
and the other one is like lack of self-care. So
Mm-hmm.
when you don't get proper sleep, or you or
Mm-hmm.
you or you don't get proper diet, or you don't prioritize relaxation and chilling
Mm-hmm.
out, um, you are vulnerable to
Yeah.
to getting ADHD burnout, because you're just you can do great at the start, right? You can hyper
Mm-hmm.
focus and just get stuff done, but then you start burning
Mm-hmm.
into your reserve energies. Then you start running on gas, and then
Yeah.
when that goes, you just fall over.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a similar thing here about self care, about being inauthentic. I always I always knew that if I was people pleasing all the time, I always felt like there was like a gradual build up of frustration with myself, that I was being inauthentic. Not saying what
Mm,
I really felt, not being who I really thought, who I knew, who I really was. Right. I
right.
think there was like accumulation of just personal frustration, like, fuck's sake, Paul,
Yeah,
yeah, and
I
being really
think,
just
yeah.
hard on yourself. So self
Oh,
care, as you were
yeah,
saying,
yeah. It's yeah. Another one that comes as a factor is perfectionism, which is like a
hmm right,
which is like a common coping mechanism, right? So if you
yeah,
have ADHD, you're like uh, you want things to be perfect. Not everyone, and not on everything, but
hmm
but that kind of like you need things to be good kind of leads to kind of more
yeah,
stress, more anxiety. You create these unrealistic expectations of yourself, these
yeah,
kind of like high bars, right, that you try and
hmm
attain.
yeah,
So you're always trying to kind of get to to where and I think that's where when you're talking about accepting yourself, like when you accept
hmm
yourself, you realize that you're not perfect and you will never be perfect, and you accept
hmm
that you don't have to be, it doesn't have to be good all the time, right? So
yeah,
you can kind of take some of the expectations off of you. I know that I'm saying that as you're in the middle of doing a sculpture for
yeah,
the museum, and you're probably thinking,
yeah,
no, this has to be fucking perfect. This has to be
yeah.
perfect.
I mean, it has occurred to me because usually I work with software like Photoshop and stuff like that, and perfection is ingrained in the software.
Hmm.
you know, and with
Down to the
Illustrator
pixel.
or the whole Adobe suite is like ingrained in the software is perfectionism. So you're working with a sculpture all of a sudden, something physical. And there was times when I was aware of like, okay, Paul, let the perfectionism go a little bit. You can't sand out every single little imperfection on the sculpture.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's definitely some of that. Definitely.
Right. Yeah.
Letting some
How are
things
you
go.
letting things go? I know, because it's hard, and
Yeah.
part I think that comes. So I do want to talk. Now's a good point to talk about the ADHD burnout cycle, and
Mm.
this is where some of these things will start to come to make sense. So there's like 6 or so stages to the burnout cycle, and this is kind of quite interesting. So stage 1, so the first thing is like there's some form of commitment or responsibility that requires your focus and your attention. That could be anything, right? From work to a sculpture to to clearing up your home, whatever it is. Then step 2 is the ADHD symptoms start to make themselves aware and start to interfere with the task, right? So you forget things, or you're time blind, or you're not being productive, or you're or whatever. Then that hits off stage 3, which is where we have feelings of stress and frustration, like like, oh, come on, like Jesus, what am I doing here? And then that leads to procrastination, avoidance, and other unhealthy coping skills that are meant to alleviate those negative things. So that could be like you could be putting off the thing, or you could go, you know what, I'm just going to go and relax and have a drink. I'm going to go and do the thing that calms me down. I'm going to go over there and I'm not going to do the task, and I'm just going to do this other thing for a while.
Yeah.
Which ultimately just ends up in step 5, which is increases the level of stress and overwhelm, and you start to think about quitting. You start to think about giving up on the thing. You start to and just not doing the thing, right? Because it's just causing way too much.
Self-sabotage.
Right. And you self-sabotage, or you almost kind of kill yourself in getting the thing done, right?
Yeah.
And you complete the task, or you don't. But either way, you've kind of burnt out at that stage, right? You've achieved burnout. And the key thing is, the important thing is, why it's a cycle, is because you feel bad. You have guilt that you that you got burnout, and or that you failed in the task, or you failed in it took way too much out of you. You sacrificed too much, or the end product of the thing that you were doing wasn't as good as it could have been, and you feel guilty towards yourself or to other people, and then you end up like trying harder next time for the next thing. You go, right, no, I have to do better. So you almost like raise the bar again. You put in more effort next time because you feel bad about the last time. So you put more effort into the next one. Then you end up in that cycle again, where you just go round. You feel put more effort, and you get more burnt out, and then you feel bad, and round it goes.
Yeah. Well, I wonder though. Just as you were saying that, Martin, that before that cycle happens, I wonder if for instance we were like trying to avoid that in the future, and therefore becoming better at recognizing when the potential for that cycle could happen. I wonder whether the pattern is often that the cycle happens after a period of hyper focus, like you were saying. You're hyper focusing on your work, and you came out the other end, and boom, like on the floor. So
Yeah.
you coming out of something of very, very high stimulation. Okay, a bit like a drug. If you, whether it's alcohol or whether it's any other kind of drugs or cigarette, there is a downturn. Even when you drink coffee, there's a downturn. There is a consequence. So it's like this: when there's an up, there's a down. It's just life, isn't it?
Yeah.
So cycle generally happens. It's happened to me in my past. I've gone into like a tunnel of self-sabotage because I've just come through a really, really busy time in my life professionally.
Yeah. No, so I talked about that. But yeah, I mean, guilt, the guilt part of the cycle is the thing that
Mm.
gets me every bloody
Yeah.
time. Every bloody
Yeah.
time, right? I feel
Mm.
bad about the thing, and that, you know, that's where
Mm.
acceptance of your
Mm.
ADHD is like the only real way you're going to get through it is if you accept who you are for
Yeah.
who you are, for your good
Yeah.
and your bad. Without that, you are screwed.
Mm.
You are
Yeah.
screwed left and right, because you'll
Yeah.
never get out of that burnout
Mm.
cycle unless you
Unless you
kind of,
start
yeah.
maybe, predicting it, right? So if you've got, like, if you're project driven, like you and I, our jobs were project driven, and they're deadline driven. So, okay, so next Saturday, the client will have been delivered this project, and there was like a immediate lull in the job, in your work and in
Mm-hmm.
your general life, So you can predict that and think, okay, knowing how I would normally, there's a pattern or past where I go into a cycle of burnout after that. What can I do on Monday to avoid that?
Yeah. No, absolutely. So this is, so for example, the colonoscopy that we talked about right at the front of this,
Yeah,
it's a very similar thing. So like, if you know you're going to be doing something that's going to take it out of you, right? So
yeah.
it could be, it could
Okay.
be anything, right? It could be going to a party,
Mm,
peopling. It could be going to the big city to do some shopping,
mm,
anything. And then you know that you're going to get a lot of stimulation. You've got a lot to deal with.
mm.
And as you say, if you accept you've got ADHD, the next day you are going to be good for nothing, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
so you make sure that you don't book any seeing
Mm,
anyone, you book anything big on that
that's it.
day.
Yeah.
You make sure that you have time to kind of
Mm,
to kind of get yourself back
mm,
together again. And that may mean, if you're, the next level is then I mean, like, as we did when I went in for colonoscopy, because I know that I was going to be out of it the next day, is that I cooked
mm.
food in advance and had it in
Right.
the fridge or the freezer, so that I didn't even have to
Yeah.
cook, because I
Mm-hmm.
knew that I was going to be doing nothing. So
Mm-hmm.
so I prepped for burnout,
Right. A
essentially. And
landing
this is what
net.
I try and do,
Mm-hmm.
is that you can look down, you can look down the road, you can see it coming,
Mm-hmm.
you can go,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to make my life as easy as I can for myself so that
Yeah.
I can get
Yeah.
right.
It might even
That's
be
the
a
key.
conversation with people that are close to you. People close to you, in this case, your missus, but um, to say, look, I'm gonna come out of a certain situation on Monday or at a certain time. So just so you know, it might historically those have been challenging times for me. So you might you might say maybe you should. I might need some space. You know,
Right.
physically, mentally, or both.
Yeah.
I might need more patience than I would normally expect.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I might be snappy. I might be in a bad
yeah,
mood.
exactly.
I'm like, I will try and not be a sweary, grouchy man,
Mm.
but just
I'm
let
really
you know
grouchy when
that,
I don't eat. If I'm hungry, I get grouchy.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, like, all of these things, like sleep, which I know is notoriously difficult for people with ADHD to kind of get their
yeah,
get their sleep in. Not so for me, weirdly,
hmm
or for,
yeah,
or for you, but it
yeah,
seems.
yeah, yeah.
But
No, exactly.
yeah. So, like, getting enough sleep, good lord,
Hmm.
eating the right things, and just being aware of the burnout
Hmm.
cycle, and that it's okay to be
Yeah,
burnt out. It feels like thinking about it, that it's somehow a personal failure that you did,
Mhm. Yeah.
that you burnt out, and
Where in
somehow it's your fault that you did something
yeah.
wrong.
When in reality, there's an inevitability about it. And in my way I would simplify it is I just have a really, really, really busy mind.
Hmm.
And, there's only so much there's only so long you can keep that going, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and
I found what
yeah, because
really
it's
helps
like,
me lower my just a busy mind and hyper focus, hyper vigilance. My God, it's exhausting having ADHD.
it
Exhausting.
is. And right, so you are going to burn out. You will burn out. There is, uh,
Overthinking.
unless you're
I
sort of
mean,
like,
just endless.
right. And the more busy your life is, the more you're going to be, um, susceptible to burnout. When I'm not working, in those
Hmm.
periods where I'm just like pottering around the house and in the back garden and stuff, I get very
Hmm.
little burnout. But
Hmm.
then I'm in
Hmm.
my own little sort of bubble world. But then as soon as
Right.
I've got work and I've got project and I've got
Hmm.
stuff going on, and yeah,
Hmm.
then it creeps up on you.
Yeah. I had an example of what I would call mini burnouts. Um, had a mini burnout on Sunday evening because we just by coincidence I had my son came to visit, and then we had other friends that came to visit as well, and so we're particularly social, and lots of cooking and lots of tidying up and washing up and making sure everyone was happy. And
Hmm.
at some point, my brain just went. I just
Yeah.
couldn't. And Mina, my girlfriend, she looked at me and she knew it because she's a bit like that as
Right.
well. I was like, I have my limits, and I had to I kind of I don't know, went into like sleep mode
Zombie.
halfway through. Yeah, zombie, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
And
ADHD,
in that
zombie
moment,
mode.
yeah, and in that moment, especially in Italian, because they've being, in Italian society, people they talk loudly, they talk over each other, and then on a basic level, it's not my language. And when I'm kind of in that zombie mode, all I can hear is just like noise.
Hmm.
It's a bit like in old analog radios when it wasn't quite tuned into your station, and
Right.
it like tuned. That's what it feels like. It's just like, oh God, and I couldn't
Yeah.
listen to any one conversation at all.
Right. Yeah. No, I do very similar. I just go into like a
Yeah.
zombie mode. I just literally just stop. I just stare into space.
Hmm. Right.
And
Okay.
I've I have this little mode which I've developed, which is like, there is an automatic pilot that will kick in and can do things if there are in instructions, or I don't have to think.
Hmm.
It's like, like where I just become sort of a very simple sort of a robot. That if someone says, can you go and make a cup of tea, and
Hmm.
I can, because it's all just automatic tasks, right? And I can do
Yes.
that, and my brain
Yes.
doesn't think. But and I can do quite a lot of stuff like that. But
Hmm.
but ask me to think of anything or
Right.
use any brain cells in any other way
Hmm.
other than just rule following,
Yeah.
I can't do.
Totally. It's like today I made a tuna pasta, and my girlfriend makes fun of me because I often make tuna pasta at lunchtime. And what I explained to her is because I know exactly how to make it,
All right.
right?
I made one
And I like it.
yesterday.
Did you?
All right. Yeah.
Right.
How do you
Okay.
make your tuna pasta? Let's just do a tuna pasta
Okay.
comparison here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boil
All
the
right, here we go.
water.
This is fun.
Get first thing.
Yeah.
Boil the water. Okay. Put
Yeah.
the salt in because
Check.
if you forget to put the
Check.
salt in, it's okay. Whilst that's coming to the boil, in a
Yeah.
small little pan, because it's
Yeah.
only
Little pan.
often I'm only cooking for one or maximum two. In a small pan, fry
Yeah.
off a little bit of onion, little not much, little bit of
Okay. All
onion.
right.
Okay,
All right.
fry that off a bit. Put it a little bit of tomatoes from a can, so they're
Oh,
like
okay.
plum tomatoes. Okay,
Oh,
but not
wow. All
much,
right.
like half a can. Those goes
Okay.
in. Some anchovies, like crushed anchovies, not too many. Those
All
go
right.
in.
Wow, this
Okay.
is so
What
different to
else?
mine.
And a little bit of peperoncino, chili powder.
Okay.
That's it. And then the tuna.
Any tuna? All right. Okay.
Then the tuna goes in. And then
All
by the
right.
time the water's boiled, you can turn off the gas for the sauce. And that's it. You wait for the pasta to cook and you combine the two.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Very different.
How does that
Very
compare
different.
with yours?
All right. Boil water.
Because
Put in
you're
pasta.
quite a chef, Mr. West. You're quite a chef.
Yeah, but this is basically sort of my wife's recipe, if you like. So this is
Okay.
not mine. So I make it how she likes it. Right.
Okay.
So boil water, bit of salt, pasta in, right? Boil, boil, boil.
Yep.
In another bowl, you get you get your tuna, uh,
Mm-hmm.
uh, pole caught tuna, not
Yes.
pole caught tuna in water, not oil. Um,
Okay.
um, and then in there goes mayonnaise,
Maize.
uh, mayonnaise, and then
Oh, mayonnaise. Wow.
mayonnaise, and then sweet relish.
Okay.
So that's the bulk. So there's quite a lot of that. Then goes in. You can put in some diced up carrots for
Wow.
texture,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
and then goes in the Old Bay, Old Bay seasoning, which is a
Mm-hmm.
classic Maryland
Mm-hmm.
concoction, and pepper. And then when the pasta's boiled and you've just drained it, then you put in your frozen peas into the pasta, so that it just de-thaws the peas out, and then you run cold water over it so it cools the whole thing
Mm-hmm.
down. And you just combine the whole thing, and then probably add in it could be sort of some Italian herbs, stuff
Mm-hmm.
some herbs in there,
Okay. All right.
have it on
Okay.
bread.
Wow. Very
Often
different.
very different.
Very different. Okay.
Mm.
Wow.
And what does your girlfriend criticize you for?
Uh,
So
she
how
wouldn't
would
put the.
she
She would do
do
it the
it?
same, but she wouldn't use the plum tomatoes. She would just have uh, tomato concentrate.
Okay, so it's a very
Same
much
as I
a
would do it. Simple.
so
Really simple.
your so the difference is that the binding agent in my case is mayo,
Yeah.
and in your case is
Mine
like
is tomato
tomato.
sauce. Yeah.
All right.
And I
Okay.
would put a combination of plum tomatoes and concentrate. My girlfriend
All
would
right.
just have concentrate. So it's a bit more,
Right.
the sauce is a little, not quite as liquidy as mine.
All right. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Interesting. That was a little
Yeah.
bit of a side
Yeah.
quest
Yeah. Oh, and she
there.
wouldn't have the chili powder either.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think you do have to have a kick to it, otherwise. So the
Mm,
Old Bay gives it a little bit of a kick, in the same
yeah.
way that the chili powder gives it a kick, because
Yeah, exactly.
you have to kind of give it something. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it can be just too Not
Mm.
the
But
bland,
then
but he needs those
the
top notes. He needs some top notes.
achugil, they give them a bit of a kick.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, the anchovies. The anchovies give them a bit of a kick.
Back on. Yeah. I'm not really an anchovy fan. I mean, I don't go out
Yeah,
of
but
my
hardly
way from.
hardly it. Just like a little tiny bit of anchovies.
All right.
Really, very little.
All right. It
It
reminds
just
me
gives
of
them
that
an edge. It's nice.
of that Futurama episode. I don't know where you see it, where
No.
there's the last can of anchovies is
Okay.
found. He found
Right.
if he finds the last can
Mm-hmm.
ever
Mm-hmm.
and anyway.
Okay.
All right.
All
So just
right.
closing out on this. Is there any? I mean, like, so I would say just to kind of like. So there's definitely things that you can do, right? So we've
Yes.
talked about setting more realistic expectations. So if you accept your ADHD,
Yeah.
hopefully you'll set more realistic expectations of yourself, knowing
Mm-hmm.
I always think being curious about yourself is one of the most important tools you've got, right? Because you've got to go, okay, what can I do? What can't I do? What happened last time?
Yeah.
What went well last time? What
Yeah.
went bad last time? What can I do
Yeah.
differently this time, right?
Yeah.
So just having that in your mind, set realistic expectations. As I said, self-care. So we talked about,
That's a
getting
massive
sleep.
one. Self-care.
Also this idea of planning, of looking ahead and going, oh, okay, this event or this thing that I'm doing is gonna produce burnout. What can I do to make that easier on
Yeah.
myself out
But
on the back end?
our friend Michael uses the spoon method to manage
Yeah.
his energy. And that works for some people, some works for some it doesn't. We're not going to go into how spoons work, but we'll do that maybe on another podcast. But for spoon method, just look it up on the internet. It works for some people, and I think it works for Michael, for example. He swears by it.
Yeah. And I think, reach out to your support network. So if you've got, if you've got a partner, if you've got friends, to help you, take advantage of that, because it'll just help with the anxiety, help with the depression. So if you have if you have a community, they will kind of hopefully help you and keep you kind of somewhat sane. Because if you,
avoid if you can self medication like drinks, alcohol, caffeine, cigarettes. That because I've got written here video games and cell phone use. Big ones, huge ones that are often overlooked. So these are things that seem to like help you during a burnout, but actually they just prolong it, or they'll just put it off for another day. Generally,
so
those things.
that's like step number 4, the burnout cycle. The where you're kind of using unhealthy coping mechanisms to kind of get over your anxiety. And then lastly, like seek professional help if if it really gets on too bad.
Yeah, I've got here also finding the right profession. For some people to avoid burnout, the best thing to do is maybe for some people it would be avoid doing night shift work. Because it just some people can do that, some people can't.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. Because, if it's chronic, you might have to make some big changes.
Exactly, yeah. And the last one I've got is choose the right partners to live with. Choose the right life partners. If you need a partner in your life, that's going to help you through crisis. You certain character types you want to avoid, probably.
Right. Or really good friends. Again, it's that support. Network. It doesn't necessarily have to be a partner, although they are handy because they're just right there.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. Nice.
Well, that was very nice. I enjoyed that.
Very
Let's
nice,
jump
very
back in the
nice.
car, and we're going to make our way back to the town hall where we shall verily do the outro. So,
Yeah.
all right, let's go. Ooh, there
So
we go.
it says your feedback. It says here your feedback is really vital to us. It says that because it is, Marty.
It is. It bloody
It
well
is
is.
vital to us. It bloody well is.
Like and comment. Subscribe.
Yeah, and we might mention you in a future podcast. So there you go.
Right. Or as we did last week, or for the 50, we might do a quiz that is based on you somehow. So last week I did the Greek quiz because one of our fans is from Greece. So just get involved, man. Get involved.
Yeah.
Things happen. Shit happens.
We're a broad church.
We are indeed a broad park bench. So, I mean, as far as actual comments go, I didn't actually have anything lined up, but I know that people write on our comments, especially in TikTok. So go and check us out there, which actually just means that I can go and say that we are. I'll start again. ADHDville is delivered fresh every Tuesday. That's better. To all purveyors of fine podcasts. Please subscribe to the pod and rate us most magnificent. And feel free to correspond at will in the comments. But wait, there's more. If you wish to see our beautiful faces, then sally forth to the YouTubes and the TikToks. We are big on TikTok. And you can also pick up a quill and email us at adhdville@gmail.com. But in the meantime, be fucking kind to yourself.
And I beseech you, fellow ADHDers, know thyselves, sons of the hounds, come hither and get the flesh.
In this case, tuna in pasta
tuna
form.
flesh.
And you can choose between the Martin recipe or the Paul recipe.
You choose.
One's American, one's Italian.
We're not going to judge.
Who can judge? All right.
Alrighty.
There, says the mayor. That's that.